Test. Not that I need it. Good afternoon. My name's Tom Buck. I am the music director here at Trinity Presbyterian. And glad to welcome you all here. I see lots of familiar faces, and I see some faces that Danny probably knows, but I don't know. So I was reminded that I look on Facebook from time to time, and occasionally you'll see some sort of a post, and there won't be any message to it. There's a message in the post, but there's nothing written other than, if you know, you know. That's what you're getting today. If you know Danny, you know what's coming. And if you don't, if this is your first opportunity to hear him play, you're in for a real treat. It's going to be a wonderful afternoon of great bell music. And they're about to come in. Before we get started, of course, I want to thank Danny for coming and playing with us, but also Connie McFerrin for doing the accompaniment for Danny. And Connie is a pianist here at church and sings in the choir, and she bails us out frequently and is always willing to serve, and we love having her here. And Danny, though he's not a member of our church, we love having him here too, and we feel as though he is an honorary member. Danny does a lot behind the scenes to help me as I direct the bell choir and don't really know what I'm doing, but Danny does. So I love Danny. I love having him around. He's a great source for us here at Trinity. So, by the way, we have in the back hallway here a little basket set up for a love offering for Danny when we're done, if he plays good. Yeah. We used to call it a tip jar. Now we call it a love offering. So you could help that. Danny's got an engagement down in South Florida, and this is sort of a get-ready concert for that. So Danny, Connie, you guys come on in. We're glad to have all of you folks here. Thank you.
Maybe it'll come on sometime. Well, I'm not a mic sort of person, so I don't know how to feel. I think it's on now. Okay. Good. I've got to reset a couple of bells, and let me see my notes, what I'm supposed to be doing. All right. So now I know what I'm doing. All right. So hard of hearing. You know, I know a man who thought his wife was getting hard of hearing, so he decided to give her a little test. And he came up behind her in the kitchen. She was at the sink peeling vegetables. And she came up and just came into the entrance to the kitchen and said, kind of in a soft voice, "Can you hear me?" And he didn't hear a response. So he went up about halfway into the room and said again, "Can you hear me?" And he still didn't hear a response. So he got up right behind his wife and said, "Can you hear me?" And she whirled around and said, for the third time, "Yes." I feel kind of like that sometimes. I wear hearing aids these days, and if something happens to them, then I'm desperate. All right, so yes, I'm going to come out here to this section of the program. This is a technique called 8 in hand. It's something that I invented to do with handbells. It's built on other techniques, you know. But the way it works is that I've got a whole diatonic major scale from low to high, and all the notes in between, and the bottom note in the scale rings forward. Now the next one up the scale rings to the left. The next one rings forward. The next one rings back. And then we've got back, forward, right, forward. So all you have to do is remember which one goes which way. This is Caroline on Nettleton. Nettleton is the hymn tune for "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing," which you all know. And that Nettleton is the name of the music for that hymn. So I call these pieces Caroline because I'm imitating the style of a Caroline, which is a tower bell, set of tower bells. And there's no damping on tower bells. I'm not doing any damping here. So that's why I call them Caroline. This is Caroline on Nettleton. change ringing for you. Some of you have done change ringing with me here at this church a little bit. The reason I like to do change ringing is because it's part of our heritage as handbell ringers. Yeah, back in the 16th century, they had lots of towers with bells, tower bells that would ring. They were in a circle and in a tower, and there's a rope that comes down through the ceiling that's in between them and the bells, and each bell has a rope. Each bell has one person to pull that rope, so they do changes. And what change ringing means, the name change means that however many bells you have, you can do it on 6 or 8 or 12. Every bell has to ring once, but only once, in each line of numbers, say. So one change would be all of my 8 bells having rung once each. And then it changes up so that the next 8 is going to be something else. So each 8 is one change. So that's where the name change ringing comes from. And I'm going to play a little prelude that I played here at Trinity 3 or 4 weeks ago. And it's a change ringing prelude. So I'm going to ring 4 different changes, and I'll show you what they are. The first one is called rounds, like a circle, rounds. And it's simply playing from the highest note, which is number 1, down to the lowest note in order. So that's one change because everything rang, and they rang only once. The next one that I'm going to play is called Queens. These are Old English names. I didn't make this up. It's called Queens. It's 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8. And then the next one will be Kings, which is 7, 5, 3, 1, 2, 4, 6, 8. And then the last one is backgrounds, which is simply bottom to top. So this is change ringing prelude. There's a little introduction and there's an interlude between each one. Change ringing prelude. But it repeats these enough times that you'll get the idea of how it's going. So this is wiping sweat out of my eyes, is what this is. Are y'all hot or is it just me? I know, it's just me. Right. All right, this is Bell Begin. Wait. I'm doing the wrong thing. All right, here we go. This is Bell Begin. That was something else. So. Okay, Connie, I'm going to stop just a minute because my notes were not as complete as they needed to be. I need that and not that. It's strange. Handbells are such an unusual instrument because we've got all these notes. There's one bell for each note in the chromatic scale, and it's real helpful if they stay where you put them, which oftentimes doesn't happen. But pieces like I'm doing today, I have to do some setting up, and sometimes I just forget. So I told Connie, I did this earlier, in fact, first time we practiced it, and I said, well, Connie, if that happens when we're playing today, I'm just going to stop, and we'll talk about it, and then we'll go on. And she said, yeah, that's the thing to do. So we're going to try once again, all right? Ready. Thank you, Connie. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So there was this old skinflint man who was famous for being a skinflint. He was on his deathbed, and the family were gathered around. And he opened his eyes and looked up and said to his wife, "Honey, are you here?" And she said, "Yes, dear, I'm right here." And he kind of looked around, said, "Well, are the children here?" And she said, "Yes, dear, they're all here." "And how about the grandchildren? Are they in here?" And she says, "Yes, honey, they're all here, right here in the room with you." And he said, "Well, what's the living room light doing on then?" This piece is from a Broadway musical. It's a Richard Rodgers waltz called Lover. Thank you, Connie. Thank you. Years ago, I played in a Presbyterian church up in the Mississippi Delta in Greenwood for their church services that morning. And I played 4 pieces. And after each one of the pieces, there was this little titter of applause. It was very Presbyterian applause. It's like, we like what you do, but we don't want to make a lot of noise, So, well, when it was over and I went back to the choir room where the organist was, the first thing he said to me was, "Man, they must have loved you." I don't think he'd ever seen them clap like that. And frankly, I think he got jealous because they clapped for me and it wasn't him. But anyway, this next piece that we're going to play, and then we're going to take a little break right after this, maybe 10 minutes just to give us a time to breathe for a second. This is Joshua. Thank you so much. Thank you, Connie. Thank you. All right, we're going to take a break, but I think we're not going to leave the room. So we're not. You may if you want to. But don't go far. It's not going to be a long break.
So, you ought to be amazed by what you can see.
since the mallets. By Leroy Anderson. Thank you, Connie. Thank you so much. All right, I have to rearrange bells again, so I'm going to tell you another story. This man and his wife were leaving handbell practice, and you could tell just coming down the front steps of the church, they were mad at each other. And it turns out that the wife thinks the husband is a bass bell hog of the worst kind. And he is. That's a pretty serious insult. And then the husband thinks the wife is a four-in-hand know-it-all. And that's another pretty serious offense. And she is. So anyway, they're coming down the steps of the church and walking towards their car. They have to go around. There's a little wishing well there. And the sidewalk circles around it. So they get to the wishing well, and they're just standing there for a few minutes because, frankly, they don't want to get in the car with each other right now. So the woman forlornly takes a coin out of her purse and drops it in the wishing well. Splash, a little bitty splash at the bottom. The man thinks, I am not letting her get away with that. So he takes the coin out of his pocket, but as his hand is coming out of his pocket, somehow it gets caught on a belt loop or his pocket or something, and then he stumbles and trips, and then he himself goes over into the wishing well, all the way to the bottom. Big splash. The woman calmly looks over into the wishing well and goes, I'll be darned, it works. I had to play it to make sure I put it together right, because doing this while I'm talking is kind of a trick. I had to practice that quite a lot. This is another 8-in-hand piece. This is Caroline on Hyfrydal. Hyfrydal is a tune that you know, and it's in the hymn book. We in the Episcopal Church, we sing it as a Christmas hymn, Come Almighty to deliver. And there are at least three different texts to it. So it's suitable for just about any time of year. So this is Caroline on Hyfrydal, and I'm playing 3 verses of it, kind of like I did on the other one. And each time, if you were singing along, you could just sing with what I'm playing. The first time is just the melody, and then I enhance that a little bit. But the melody is in there every time, every note of it. This is Caroline on Hyfrydal. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. When you learn a piece like that, you have to play it like a million times. And the first times through, you're figuring out which bell goes which way, and you're playing the melody just kind of by ear. And pretty soon that works its way into your memory, and you're going along, and then it works its way into your muscle memory. And then at that point, the best thing to do is just get out of the way and let it go. And usually it does. But I have a problem that when I reach that stage, my mind tends to wander. So here's where my mind goes when I'm playing that first verse of Heiferdal. How much is that doggy in the window? The one with the waggly tail. How much is that doggy in the window? I sure hope that doggy's for sale. Oh, my darling, oh, my darling, oh, my darling Clementine. I just found a new lover, oh, my darling Clementine. Toyland, Toyland, my country 'tis of the sweet land of liberty. Thank you. Okay. All right, so this next piece is Bethana by Scott Joplin. It's a Scott Joplin waltz that was dedicated to his sister, Bethana. And I'm going to play this piece without any of the fancy multiple bells in a hand kind of thing. This whole piece I'll be playing with one bell in this hand and one bell in this hand. And they change, of course, but there's none of this kind of stuff. My friend Martha Rottlehoover, I was talking to her a couple of weeks ago, the last time I played here, and sometimes I put tape on my fingers because it wears my hands down, keeps me from getting bruises. And I told her, well, it's to keep me from getting bruises, or not bruises, but blisters, because it will. But she said, well, what you can do to keep from getting blisters is quit doing all that stuff. Martha's so cute. All right, so this is Bethana by Scott Joplin. you. Thank you so much. One thing I wanted to say before I played that piece was that, talking about keyboard order, the handbells are always put on the table in what we call keyboard order. That's for a soloist or a group, whichever. And that simply means that what I'm looking at up here from this side of the table looks like a keyboard, just like what Connie's playing over here. So I've got white keys on the bottom and black keys on the top, and they're in 3 and 2 and 3 and 2. So all that helps me or any soloist find their way and helps us to put the bells back where they're supposed to go. Especially, and I actually have little marks on my table that you can't see that I'm referencing where the black keys, where the sharps go, so that I can, as you're playing a solo, bells tend to kind of bunch up in one in one end of the table. So you got to keep working on them. So I've got these sharps set up so that they're kind of immovable at this point, and they're my reference points. So, and if you want to see how all this looks like from this side of the table, please feel free to come up after the program. You're welcome to ring a bell. Just don't get any food on them. That has happened before at a reception. Cake icing doesn't do very well on bronze castings. All right, but come up if you'd like to see it, if you want to ring a bell. This next piece we're going to play is George Gershwin's Biding My Time. Thank you so much, Connie. Thank you. Before we play our last piece, I want to say thanks to Tom Buck and Hugh Hamilton and Trinity Presbyterian, and to all of you for being here. Thank you for inviting me here, and thank you for coming to help me with this little project. I appreciate it very much. This church is a little bit of a home for me, as you know, so it's awfully fun to play for the home folks. This last piece is America the Beautiful, and I invite you to sing along with me on the first. I'm going to play 3 verses. We are going to play 3 verses, and I invite you to sing along with me on the first 2 verses. So the first one is the one you already know. Oh, beautiful first. So you've sung all your life. The second one, we're going to do Patriot Dreams, Alabaster City's Gleam. So remember that. When you get to it, think Patriot Dreams, Alabaster Cities. and see if you can get the words to the second verse, and you probably can. And then the chorus to that part is the same as the first one. So, Patriot Dreams, Alabaster City. This is America the Beautiful. Spacious skies for amber waves of gray. Food at play. Amen. God shed His grace on thee. Patriot dreams we are. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now stand up. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. I do have one more. You can't ever get away without an encore. Years ago, I put together a CD of Christmas music for solo handbells and piano. And I'd take those around with me when I played different places and sell them after the performance and make a few bucks. And I had a friend in Pensacola who used to come to lots and lots of my programs. She was a little bit of a groupie and sort of followed me around, which was really cool. And she bought one of the CDs the first Christmas that I had them. So and then I didn't see her again until like April of that next year. And she came up after a program then and physically took my arm and said, "Oh, Danny, I just love your Christmas CD, and I still play it every night." And I thought, well, that's great confirmation, what you want to hear. Well, she went on to say that the reason she plays my CD every night is that she's got a little CD player right beside her bed. And every night she takes my CD out of its case and puts it in a little CD player and turns it on. And in her own words, if you turn the volume way down low, you can hardly hear the bells at all, and the piano puts you right to sleep. So there's that. That's like the preacher in that church in Mississippi where I played. I met him afterwards. He shook my hand, and the only thing he said was, "Man, you'd make a great pickpocket." What kind of a comment is that? Anyway, this and I wanted to tell you, of course, that there's a reception. I'm told there's lots and lots of food in there. So please go to the reception, and we'll join you over there. And feel free to come up and look at the setup if you want to. This last piece that I'm going to play for you is Caroline on Ode to Joy. Now, this is done in 6 in hand. You see, I've got 6. Which is way easier than 8 in hand. The extra bell adds a whole new dimension to it, but the 6 in hand is not so bad. This is Caroline on Ode to Joy, Beethoven's Ode to Joy. Thank you so much. Thank you. Come again next year. We'll see. Go to the reception.